Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. We are slowly winning our way through the book of Death of a Gentleman, and which has been a really been a good thing for me being able to go through this book and see a lot of the things um, that I wrote about. Granted, I mean it's been some time between the time this was published to my last book. I believe it's been about a year. So, yet this excuse me because a lot of times I don't recall some of the things that I write in here because I don't really connect well with the emotions of that when I write this. When I write it, the emotion's there. Years, a year or a couple of months, is I can't really go back and say, hey, I still connect with this. It's about the same way with my other poems written in my other books. I can tell you what happened, what the situation was where this came about, but the emotions is not there because it says I've already worked through the process of healing from that or moving on or letting it go and those things. So this poem right here is basically about the regret of not being able to um, not doing more when it comes to people or things. Doing things or being able to talk to people as you should, and then you realize they're gone. There are so many things that are left unspoken that shouldn't have been, but unfortunately, it was. Um, Stillness. Regret is like a recording playing over and over again inside your head. It's 100 things I'd wish I say to you. Different words or phrases maybe took a chance and held you tighter. For a few minutes longer, regret plays those scenes and syllables. Every touch of your hand and smile, your voice will haunt me for the rest of my days as I remember you like a painting in the stillness of time. And this is another poem I wrote for Danny Darko. But this out here you can apply for any situation because it's just like the same for my mother, the same for just other little things along the way because it just you really don't know how much time you have on this world. Pebbles and people. Time passes like a stream, tossing some pebbles, and the ripples are the people who touch our lives. The shockwaves from their energy or their presence changes us in some brilliant or magical way, whether it was love from a friendship, courage of words, or just a kind gesture. That was Danielle and the ripple she created with love. And that's again about my, Danny Darko, who was a person that was within the Game of Thrones community. She loved Daenerys. She loved oh she loved Jon Snow's dog. Unfortunately, uh, I'm drawing a blank right now. Forgive me. This one I hear is about saying when we kind of hit into a point where you're just with with remembering things and people or the situations. One for the road is what this one's called. I don't know what it was about you. If it was the way the light looked in your amber eyes, the way you smiled, or how the light shimmered on your lips, the high gloss red lipstick. There was something about you. Maybe it was the way you're dressed, hugged your frame, making your curves like an elegant dance as it flowed along your silhouette, where your legs were barely covered by those boots of yours, the ones I took off to rub your aching feet, while listening to you moan and coo as my hands chased away the pain of the day, the way your neck slopped to your shoulders as I kissed you there. It's just Every once in a while, I'll throw in like a little bit of a sensual thing, because you have to understand when I write this, is basically it may be a couple of days before I return back to this, so I really can't say, "Oh, I'm undepressed here." So and then another thing, you got this. So that's what's kind of up and down whenever I write anything. But this one right here is basically it talks about this next poem talks about the little pieces that people leave when you had those intimate moments. Fragment. A fragment breeze is all that remains of you as I lay here, tracing your body above me, feeling you for the last time, trying to imagine you with wings as you're just, hanging up over there. And this is probably, yeah, this is a word prompt because wings appears in this again. She rises, bobbing and weaving on flimsy wings, as she rises and falls in the summer's breeze. A butterfly flies in circles when her life hangs in the balance, which is true, because you see a butterfly, it's usually like bobbing as it moves along. Uh, Same way with moths or most insects, like it's that constant zigzagging motion because they're trying to avoid being eaten. And which is ironic because basically I've been seeing butterflies at least for a week now. And then I looked that up, and it's basically saying you're changing and metamorphosing into something more. You're finally breaking out of the cocoon, so it's going to be interesting. So, as I said, some of these I do for word prompts, and usually when something is like a double, if you're reading my books, if you go out and you buy my books and you come across a short poem, and it's just like if there's a word in here that repeats twice or maybe three times over the course of the poems, that's usually for a word prompt. So you can usually, because this one right here was wings, with the two before was wings. This one right here is nothing in here. But this one's called Two Spoons, and it's basically talks about playing with spoons. Two spoons listening to the sound of one hand clapping and slapping the silence, trying to break the mundane of life. I create for myself, slapping silence with two spoons bound together, making a racket or some kind of song just to pass the time away while doing nothing. So basically, you're just beating on something, doing something to be able to keep your mind occupied because you're bored senseless. The next one here is called Please Move. And there was a situation that happened with this. I think it was a video. No, it wasn't a video. It was actually something in real life. I saw a woman actually punched a guy because he was acting like a jerk. And this poem's called Please Move. Please move, I watched as she punched the silence out of him, making him move from her personal space. It wasn't a love tap. She gave him just a bare knuckle right to his kisser. She didn't speak, but left their place as the drunk man was floored by the haymaker. And she did. She laid his ass out. And I was completely amazed. I was just sitting there, sitting there drinking my beer, just like, holy shit, what's going on over here? Then pop, and you're like, oh, damn, man, what the hell? And so he's like, God dang, man. Somebody gonna give him some, says, I guess he gonna, I said, I don't know if they're dating or married or what, but she just laid his ass out. But that was the most entertaining thing I ever seen in my life. Cause, and, nothing against women. I said women can do a lot of things. They put their mind to it because they're freaking awesome. I can tell you right now. And I said a lot of people put them down because feeling that they're inferior. But I've seen some women kick some ass before. So I said, yeah, no. But that was the most entertaining thing I have ever seen in my life when she floored that guy, and he deserved it too. So moving along, sorry, but now we're moving along to the next poem, and this one's called Black and White, and it's basically going over um, the thing with social media or different things and thoughts, but also has a kind of a sensual flair to it. Black and white. I'm free, but I'm a prisoner in my own mind. All wrapped up in black and white as I try to interrupt the stream of information, leaving me upside down in my headspace. Just a dangling felony crucified by pain and the agony of wanting to feel a release from the change of you. Locked away with the thoughts of you and those images of you that run through my head of wanting to touch and make love to you as you're close at the fore, devouring you with my lips while tasting your essence as you rip away my soul from its binding. So, I mean, a lot of times I get caught up in my head about different things. It's like, but that's about anything, about any situation. But it is what it is. So, this poem right here is it is a word prompt, and this was basically from last year for Halloween, and this was something that somebody was like doing, is that using certain word prompts to be able to create a short horror story. So I figured I would do something different, and this is called Devil's Trap. I drank the devil's tears with a whiskey chaser, trying to drown my sorrows here in the Red River. I gunned a man down, but that's not my reason to drown my sorrows with hell's whiskey. The guy had it coming if he had punched my horse, dumbass. Leaning on the bar, drooped and ready, as the bartender pours another shot of bourbon, mixed with what he calls or what he claims are tears from Lucifer himself. I'm not a child, I told the man. His whiskey's watered down. I saw his old lady pouring water into the bottles the other night. The barkeep wandered off, broken with an angry scowl, before he left the bottle and returned my money. Her hair was blonde and long, and it was golden sunshine. Green eyes pierced my soul and kept me on her straight. She is my everything, but all that glitters isn't gold, and the father of faith doesn't mix with a drifter. So she's marrying a rancher while I'm making love to a bottle. Okay, scratch that. This isn't a horror thing. I thought it was. But it is for a word prop, and I should have done a better thing there, transitioning that. Okay, we'll do two more short poems, and then I gotta wrap up. On. The sun shall shine even on those who have fallen into addiction and for a kiss and for a taste of poison. So long. It's a warm time when the sun shall shine on my face after being here alone for so long. And these two right here are basically word prompts of the word sun. So we're going to wrap it up here on page 84, which we shouldn't have any too many pages to go before the end. So we'll probably end up wrapping this up next weekend. And then moving on to another book. So, yeah. But I appreciate y'all for coming in and watching this. Check out my other page, Kenny Plank, for all my sponsors, because I will tag them in that thing if Facebook actually lets me download a video, which they didn't let me do last week, because they said I had music going in the background. Excuse me. And said I had music in the background, which I did not have any music. I don't use music for any of my videos and stuff. Maybe I should, but I don't, because I don't want the copyright thing coming up on me. So, everyone have a good weekend, or what's left of it, and have a good night. And I will see you here next Sunday. Hopefully, I'm going to be in Nashville at the Southern Festival of Books, so over on the War Memorial in the plaza. So up in Nashville, so please come by and see me if you want to buy some of my books, get some autographs, get some bookmarks. So y'all have a good night and take care. And